see any missing bolts. It's secured to the frame. Looking at my pull hooks, and they're secured. I'm looking at my grill. Don't see any missing parts, and all the screws are in place. I'm looking at my strobe lights. Basically, they're amber in color. I'm looking at my headlights. The lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. I'm looking at my turn signal, and the bulb is amber. I'm looking at the turn signal light on the side of the fender here. It's amber in color, not broke or missing.
After we do that about it not being broken, missing the amber light over there on that side, we unclick that side and then walk over here and unclick this side. Then we raise the hood.
Yeah, but I don't think we're supposed to raise it from the side. I think we're supposed to raise it from the middle.
Okay. I'm starting at the front, working back. Looking at my radiator. I don't see any leaks. It's secured to the frame. Looking at my fan shroud, it's secured to the radiator. Looking at my fan blades, I don't see any broke or missing blades. Looking at my air breather is secured to the frame. Looking at my air breather control there, it's in the green. Here's my air conditioner, air compressor. It's secured to the motor. Looking at my alternator, it's secured to the motor. The nuts and bolts, I don't see any missing wires or frayed wires on the back of it. I'm looking down at my water pump. My water pump is not leaking. And basically it's belt driven, and I'm pulling on my V-belt. It can't have any more than 3/4 inches of play. Looking at my air horn, and it's secured. Another radiator hoses are leaking. Yes.
What are those wires that they've been talking about on our paper?
Alternator.
They're the back wires to the alternator right here.
Okay.
It hooks to the alternator.
Okay, that's why you say no wires.
Yeah, no wires.
Missing frayed.
Coming over here and checking my wiring harness. All looks in good shape. Don't see any loose wires. Lie to them. Okay. Looking at my windshield wipers. Basically, there it looks like the roll's in place. We'll check the tension when we get inside. I'm looking at my wiper motor. It's secured to the cab. Looking at my oil dipstick.
Wiper motor that was in there too?
Yeah. I'm looking at my dipstick, and basically, if you want me to check it, I will. If not, what I would do is pull it, wipe it, put it back in and pull it out, and make sure the oil's at operating level, and the same with my transmission fluid. I'm looking at my sight glass on my radiator, and it's full, and the reservoir's full. Looking at my water lines, basically they're not frayed, cracked, or leaking. I'm looking at my power steering pump. It's secured to the motor. I'm looking at the hoses. They're not frayed, cracked, or leaking. I'm looking at my air compressor. My air compressor is secured to the motor. I don't hear any air lines leaking. And my air compressor and my power steering pump is belt driven. I'm looking at my power steering reservoir. It's full at operating level, and it's secured to the engine.
I thought it was gear driven.
I did say gear driven, didn't I?
I think you said belt.
driven.
Okay, I'm sorry, but my
It's
air
okay.
conditioner and is gear driven.
It's belt driven on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your water pump is belt driven. On some of your newer trucks, the water pump's gear driven. Looking at my reservoir for my windshield wipers, it's secured to the frame, and it's full. It's not, don't see, it's not cracked, it's not leaking. Okay. Looking at the hoses coming out of my power steering reservoir. They're not chafed, cracked, or leaking. I'm basically looking at my power steering rod. It's in good shape. It's not loose, not bent. Looking at my U-joints. They're greased and there's no debris in them. I'm looking at my power steering gearbox, and basically the hoses running to them are not leaking, and it is secured to the frame, and all the bolts are present.
What is this again? I'm sorry.
You
That's
joint.
right, that's U-joints
No,
right there.
this.
This is power steering rod. I mean
Okay.
the steering rod.
Steering rod?
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at my frame. I don't see any illegal welds or holes in my frame. Looking at my shock absorber, it's secured to the frame and to the axle, and it's not cracked, bent, or leaking. I'm looking at my pitman arm, and my pitman arm is secured to my gearbox, steering gearbox, and I'm looking at basically my drag link, and it's secured to my pitman arm with Castleless and Carter keys. My drag length is hooked to my lower steering arm, and my lower steering arm is hooked to my tie rod end, and both of them are secured with Castleless and Carter keys. Okay, I'm looking at my brake chamber, which is a type C20. Looking at the air lines running to it. They're not cracked, frayed, or leaking. I'm looking at my ABS line, and it's not cracked or leaking. I'm looking at my
Air hose.
no. I looked at the air hoses. They're not cracked, frayed, or leaking. I'm looking at my adjustment rod, and basically it's in place with pins and Carter keys. If I pull it out, I couldn't pull more than 1 inch. If I did, I'd be out of adjustment, and the rod is not bent. I'm looking at my brake drum, and my brake drum is not cracked or no illegal welds. I'm looking at my brake shoes. They're in good condition. They're not cracked, broken, or missing. They have to be 1/4 inch or more thickness. I'm looking at my oil seal. My oil seal's not leaking. There's no debris on my brake shoes or my brake drum. I'm doing this backwards. I'm looking at my inside rim. My inside rim is not cracked, bent, or any illegal welds. And I'm looking at my tire, and it's beaded properly to the frame. I'm looking at my front and rear spring hangers, and they're secured to the frame, and all bolts are present. I'm looking at my springs. It's not cracked, none broken, no missing. They're not scissored. I'm looking at the U-bolts that hold my springs to the axle, and all nuts are present, and it's in place. I'm looking at the inside of the tire. It's not cut and frayed. I don't see any bubbles. I'm looking at my tire depth. My tread depth must be at least 4/32 or more, and there's no recaps are allowed on the front. Looking at the outside of my tire, and basically it's not cracked, frayed, no bubbles. Must have at least 110 pound of pressure in them, and it's beaded to my rim properly. I'm looking at my rim. It's not bent, broken.